2021 was a monster year for the UFC, with the company raking in more than $1 billion, and 2022 promises to be just as big in terms of numbers, with some mega fights already booked and some grudge matches likely to happen before the year is out. Today, we are discussing some of the most hyped fights in the UFC, which have already been announced for the new year, so stay where you are. First up, we're talking Ngannou versus Gane. Stay tuned. UFC 270 takes place later this month in Anaheim, California, and we'll see the long-awaited first title defense of Cameroonian champ Francis Ngannou. The heavyweight champ took Stipe Miocic's crown back in March after knocking out the division's most successful ever champion in the second round. Ngannou has long since been fancied as a potential heavyweight champion ever since he took the promotion by storm with 6 consecutive wins in his first 6 fights in the UFC. The 35-year-old then had a bit of a wobble after his win streak, with 2 consecutive losses, one coming in his first title fight to Stipe, and the next coming in one of the heavyweight division's worst ever fights, a decision loss against Derek Lewis, where literally nothing happened. He found his form again, though, and is currently on a 5-fight win streak. Frenchman Gane is currently undefeated and is the proud owner of a 10-0 record. The Muay Thai specialist has gone through a who's who of the heavyweight division in his past 4 fights, and the power puncher poses a real problem for Ngannou. If Gane can take Ngannou into the deeper rounds, it will be interesting to see if the African's engine holds up, as there have been question marks about his endurance in the past. The gameplay Gane brings will be key to how this one plays out, as if he chooses to go toe-to-toe with Ngannou, it could be an early night for Bone Gamin. Next, we're looking at Whittaker versus Adesanya 2. Ciryl Adesanya and Robert Whittaker will do it all again in Houston come February 13th, and fans of the sport cannot wait for this one. The pair put on a show back in October 2019, with Adesanya coming out on top to unify the division, having previously been the interim champ. Whittaker was KO'd in the second round, and his record now sits at 23-5. Conversely, Adesanya has never been beaten in the middleweight division, with his only loss coming against Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight. This one is one of the most exciting booked fights of the year so far, as a lot of people think Whittaker has the minerals to cause an upset. Since his last fight with Izzy, he has now won 3 fights back-to-back against some heavy hitters in the division, including Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, and Kelvin Gastelum, scoring unanimous decisions in each one and proving he has what it takes to stand and bang with some real striking talents. Adesanya returned to middleweight in his last fight after the aforementioned defeat at light heavyweight, coming out on top against Marvin Vettori in a unanimous decision back in June of last year. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes, and Izzy will come in as the favorite, but if Whittaker can turn it into a brawl, there's no reason why he can't come out on top. How do you see this one playing out? Let us know below. A super interesting fight at featherweight is up next. Bryce Mitchell, one of only 2 men in the UFC to submit an opponent via twister, the other was the Korean Zombie, makes his long-awaited return to the Octagon at UFC 272 this March, taking on world-class kickboxer Edson Barboza. Incidentally, Mitchell almost submitted Charles Rosa with a twister in another fight he absolutely dominated. The unbeaten Mitchell, one of the hottest prospects in the UFC, is 14-0, and many have touted him as a potential future champion due to his nasty ground game. This fight will see 11 take on 10 in the rankings, and should Mitchell get past the dangerous Barboza, it would propel him into the top 10, probably at the Brazilian's expense. Barboza's no joke, though. However, since losing to Khabib back in 2017, his record can only be described as patchy at best, having lost 6 of the past 9. Last time out, he was knocked out by exciting prospect Giga Chikadze, and will probably also come into this one as a slight underdog given Mitchell's performances up to now. It's not often a Brazilian won't be favored if the fight goes to the floor either, so watch out for that nasty jiu-jitsu of Mitchell's we have previously mentioned. We can't wait for this one. How do you guys see it going? Let us know in the comments below. Next, we're talking about Qatar versus Chikadze. Stay with us. There's a certain amount of hype surrounding Georgian fighter Giga Chikadze right now, and pundits throughout the sport are expecting big things from the 33-year-old Basili native, having taken out 2 bona fide UFC legends in his past 2 fights. In the aforementioned Barboza and Cub Swanson, he takes on the ever-game Calvin Kattar on January 15th. The karate expert is currently 7-0 in the UFC and has finished all of his last 3 fights by knockout. On the other hand, Calvin Kattar comes into this one not having fought since being on the receiving end of one of the most one-sided beatings in UFC history at the hands of former champ Max Holloway, almost exactly a year ago. Kattar is game, though, and has taken out many big hitters during his stay in the UFC, so don't expect him to take that loss lying down. If anything, Kattar will be looking to make a point, and his best chance in this fight could be turning it into a slugfest, something which we know he has absolutely no problem with. Both men's styles suggest this one will stay stood up, as they both like to strike, so expect to see fireworks and maybe, just maybe, expect to see an early stoppage. We like both of these guys, but Chikadze will probably come in as the early favorite. But write Kattar off at your own peril. He still has the tools to do a job job on the Georgian. The light heavyweights are up next. The first quarter of the year also sees the return of Jan Blachowicz, who after a relatively short turnaround since losing his title to Glover Teixeira, will be out again in March against the heavy-handed number 3 ranked Alexander Rakic. The Pole rather unexpectedly lost his title against Glover back in October after being submitted by the Brazilian legend. However, after not receiving too much damage, he has been cleared to fight once more. Jan was on a 5-fight win streak before being submitted by Teixeira and will be looking to start a new streak in a couple of weeks against the dangerous Austrian Rakic. Since his professional debut, Rakic has only lost one fight against Volkan Ozdemir 2 years ago. The American top-team fighter, who is of Serbian heritage, had a stellar kickboxing career before transitioning into MMA, fighting more than 40 times. Rakic loves to stand and bang, and this one could be Jan's second loss in a row if he decides to stand and trade with the big Austrian, who has 3 inches on him. With 9 of his 14 wins coming via knockout, this presents a big problem for Jan, who might choose to out-grapple the bigger man. Blachowicz also has the power to knock Rakic out, having won 8 fights via KO or TKO, but we don't like the idea of standing in front of Rakic trading. How do you guys see this fight going? Let us know in the comments below. The little guys are out next. UFC 270 sees 2 world titles up for grabs. The previously mentioned Ngannou and Gane will go at it, but before their fight, a much-anticipated clash for the flyweight title will take place. Brandon Moreno will defend his title against former champ Davison Figueiredo in what will be the 3rd consecutive fight between the pair. Moreno forced a rematch after the first fight, which was incidentally the fight of the night, in which Figueiredo was docked a point for a groin strike. In the rematch, Moreno shocked the world by submitting the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt via rear naked choke. Figueiredo will be out for revenge in his title, and with both men so dangerous on the ground, expect this one to include some super high-level jiu-jitsu. Figueiredo is currently 20-2 in his MMA career, while Moreno's 19-5, and we would make the former champ the slight favorite going into this one. However, Moreno has shown he is no joke and is not to be underestimated, but if Figueiredo has prepared properly and doesn't take his opponent lightly, which he shouldn't given the fact he took his belt, there is no reason why he cannot take it back. We are super psyched for this one. Who do you see taking the belt home? As always, thanks for tuning in today, and remember to swing by next time for some more fun and games. Also, why not do us a favor and share this video with any fight fanatics you might know of. Bye, guys!